So with the announcement that meat processing plants are going to be forced to remain open and that the companies are going to be protected from any liability, I'm curious what's going to happen with the workers, because I'm reading reports, quotes from people who work at these plants saying they don't understand how this is supposed to work. One named Donald is an employee at a Tyson's Waterloo, Iowa facility who said, "All I know is this is crazy to me because I can't see all these people going back to work. I don't think people are going to go back in there. I'm still trying to figure it out. What is he going to do?" Talking about Trump. Force them to stay open? Force people to go to work? Donald, that is a very good question. Yes, they are going to force you to go to work or else. And so what does that or else look like? Well, we have a quote from the governor of Iowa, Republican Kim Reynolds, who said, "If you're an employer and you offer to bring your employee back to work and they decide not to, that's a voluntary quit. Therefore, they would not be eligible for the unemployment money." So they're going to force you to go back to work. If you don't go back to work, you're going to lose access to all of those benefits. And by the way, she also said employers who have workers that refuse to return should file a report with Iowa Workforce Development. So between an employer whose employees don't come back, she's like, "I got advice for you. Go to this group. They're going to hunt those people down." If you're a worker who's afraid of getting and dying from coronavirus, I got no interest in you.
Yep.
You're quitting. No unemployment benefits. We're done with you.
You're un-American. You're expendable, and we were hoping you could be expendable for our benefit. And since you refuse to, you're just expendable at your own expense, and we're going to make sure that you're out of our way. It's the weeding out of people that, like, the degree to which this whole pandemic has exposed our system and our economic system and our hatred towards our citizens is profound. And I need enough people to realize that, because we're still sitting in the whole like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, they want the best for us. That's why when these checks go out, these $1,200 checks go out and Donald Trump's name is at the bottom of them, or he sends out the letter because he needs more people to see his name at the bottom of it. It's a continuing push to make sure that people think it's all them and you're still nothing. People have to start realizing that you have more power than them if you exercise it. But, this is how they keep inflicting this on you, to make you think, hey, we're going to put you in this corner. We're going to make sure that we supplement these companies, these corporations, to screw you over as much as possible, to beat you into submission. It's a partnership to destroy you if you don't do as you're told. It's crazy. And I know I sound crazy saying it, but that's the bottom line of this. All these different parameters and factors are put into place to where you have no choice anymore.
Yeah.
But they won't say it openly. They'll say that that's what others want that are actually looking to protect you.
They're not at the point of like sending the cops to drag you to your station, mm-hmm. but they're doing everything they can to produce the same incentives. It's just amazing. I mean, how many times over the course of like the past month, since the reopen calls have gone about, have we made some sort of analogy to their willingness to like grease the gears of capitalism with the blood of workers, to grind them up and all that stuff? This is how they do it. And they're even doing it in an industry that is about grinding things up. It's really on the nose at this point. The analogy is super clean. Like, you think about it. Your company's going to be forced to open. The CEOs don't get to choose. I don't think that they would. But they're not even getting to choose. So screw, free market or whatever. They have to come open, which means that you have to go to work. You're going to be afraid of getting coronavirus. And if you don't go, that's a voluntary quit. You get no benefits, no unemployment, no anything like that. It's really amazing. Now, there's one other detail to this. Coming from Kim Reynolds. So the only exception for workers getting unemployment after not returning to work is if they are ill with the virus or taking care of a family member who has the deadly disease. So you won't be forced to go back to work if you already have the disease, which makes sense. Except that you will be forced to go and potentially get the virus.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go if you have a family member that already has the virus. You do have to go get the virus and give it to your family members. I really don't understand what passes for logic with Kim Reynolds here. The entire thing, it's like an insane, like some sort of eldritch horror has come up with this plan. It is definitely going to result in more infections and more deaths in this industry. If I was one of the workers at one of these plants that's about to reopen, I would be terrified.
The policy is obviously there, not for the people who are advocating it. So, I mean, if Kim Reynolds has any family members that are going to bring the virus to her, she's shutting that down. Just saying.
Exactly. And by the way, it's It's not just Iowa that's going to have this particular policy. You've also got, according to the Texas Workforce Commission, to qualify for unemployment benefits in the state, a worker must be, quote, willing and able to work all the days and hours required for the type of work you're seeking. And so if employees who choose not to return to work, they will become ineligible for unemployment benefits. And if Iowa's doing it, if Texas is doing it, you better believe that other Republican states are going to do it, especially after the precedent has been set. So we, like the working class, got a very small one-time stimulus. Trump sort of laughed off the idea yesterday of a second, even $1,200 check. Very limited protections in some areas from being fired without any sort of compensation, against being evicted and things like that. And those are already going away. And you are going to be forced to go back out there into a situation with the virus that is almost exactly the same as what you would have faced 6 weeks ago if we had never stopped before. They don't have any better treatment. They don't have a vaccine. We're barely doing more testing. We're not even doing half as much as experts say would be necessary to sort of justifiably restart the economy. And they have resisted all calls to get to that point. They could have easily done it. They could have started spending 6 weeks ago any number of billions of other people's dollars to create at least the cover in terms of testing necessary to restart things. But they want to have their cake and mash it in your face too. They want to restart, and they don't want to do what is necessary to protect you. I really don't understand it. It seems homicidal at this point because, again, it isn't their money they'd be spending. They could use taxpayer dollars, public money, to provide the personal protective equipment and testing to preemptively reopen the economy. They could do that. If that's what they want, is to get people back to work, get the economy roaring again, they could have done it. But they chose to just start it without the necessary protective measures. I don't understand, other than, and this seems crazy, a desire to see workers die. I don't know what the other explanation is.
Well, it's the seeing workers die is just, it's a result of the policy, because it's capitalism. So the policy is get back to work, get these people back to what you need them to do by any means necessary. Get as much money as you can, spending as little as possible. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to, if you have a company, you're trying to have very little amount you put out and try and get more in. So this is the same idea. It's just your workers are part of what you got to make sure that you utilize to get your money. So if the idea is to get things started without having to invest anything to make sure you protect the people who are getting you your stuff, hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
If they die, that's not me. This is capitalism, bro. You're expendable because I need to get my money. Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really think that, I mean, they've been successful in tracking the spread of coronavirus in some areas to these meatpacking plants. There's one area where 90% of the cases were tracked back to one particular plant, and it's just going to become more common. And that meat goes all over. A few plants getting infected, the meat goes all over the country.
That's what I want to say. There was last thing. I'm sorry. I know I've been on this forever. This one thing about this is Tyson, I think food companies yesterday said that the food supply chain is getting severed, and all these scary terms. Oh my God, we got to make sure we get back to work and send these guys to work. And the infection rate goes at this rate. What do you think is going to happen to the food supply chain if everyone that works there has the virus? Mm-hmm. Is it going to continue on, or is it going to end anyway? Or are you going to plug in more people to do the same thing and it infects them as well? And then when that meat comes to your grocery store, after you stand in line to get in your grocery store and you're wearing your mask and your gloves and you go to the meat section, are they going to start placing really large orange stickers on every meat, every package that comes from these infected places and goes, just for full disclosure, this came from the meat packing plant that had 90% of its employees infected. Are you going to buy that meat?
Yeah.
No. Those things are going to be covered up. Those things are not going to happen, but they'll scare you into thinking, oh my God, look, the food supply chain is going to break down. You got to hurry up and kill yourself to make sure. There's ways you can do this. I'm just saying, I'm not saying I have the answers. I don't even know exactly how the transmission of it could be with these types of things. But I get the feeling that if people are told they're getting this meat from places like this, they may not be very comfortable buying it.
I have a theory really fast. I think the person behind this move, you know who it is? It's Cory Booker. You know why I say that? Because if you wanted to create as many vegans as possible, I can't think of any better way to do that than to have 6 months to a year of people associating all meat with getting a fatal disease.
They're
going to.
No, it's going to take a lot, John, because the first couple weeks of this, if you go to the store, there was, everything was off the shelves. We were buying
Yeah.
everything. There was no limitations on certain things. I was in like the lunch meat section, hot dogs and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
All of it was gone except for the vegan and vegetarian options. Those were packed full, just that sliver of the section. And I was like, no matter what, people are not going to buy it. It is way worse.
You're crazy. Try the Beyond Sausage. Just try it once. It's
no,
good.
I'm not saying people have tried it and they didn't like it. They won't try it. That stuff sits on that shelf and people won't buy it. They're like, yeah, I'll buy the fat-free hot dog before I buy the
Well, here's the thing. In those early weeks, when I would go into the store, people might not have been able to buy their sausage, but I was able to get Beyond Sausage, and it was delicious. So these idiots, they really messed up. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.